If you think your work schedule is tough right now, then take a seat and listen up. The average astronaut at the International Space Station works 80 hours a week. That's more than double the standard 40-hour workweek, but it gets even more intense. Some astronauts have logged more than 120 hours of work in just 7 days. There's so much to learn about what happens to the human body when it leaves the Earth that even that much time feels like it flies by. So what do they actually do all day? This is unlocking the secrets of space biology. Hi, and welcome to this channel. When most people hear the word astronaut, they think of an exciting but brief period of time spent in space. They picture those few minutes when a rocket lifts off, sending its crew on a journey full of weightlessness and wonder. And then there are the hours spent outside on extravehicular activities, those spacewalks where astronauts move around with the help of jetpacks and robotic arms, repairing the station or installing new equipment. And the rest of their time is apparently filled with breathtaking views, low-gravity games of basketball, and maybe some singing. In reality, the vast majority of an astronaut's time in space is spent doing experiments, which means the real action takes place behind closed doors, in the carefully sealed and climate-controlled environment of the Destiny Lab, for example, a module that serves as both a workspace and living quarters. Astronauts conduct hundreds of experiments to study everything from how cells grow in zero gravity to whether they can use lasers to make steel stronger. Most of the research they do has to be done in shifts, because not everyone is suited up at the same time. And speaking of shifts, the US astronauts working on the International Space Station usually work 10-hour shifts between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Their schedules are synchronized with the ground teams at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston. Since communication between Earth and the ISS is delayed by 20 or more seconds, the astronauts have to be very self-sufficient. If anything goes wrong while they're out of contact with mission control, they need to be able to handle the problem themselves without putting themselves or the station in danger. When they're not in the lab, the astronauts still have work to do. For example, they have to check in regularly with their flight surgeon who monitors their health and gives them advice on how to deal with any physical or psychological problems. The astronauts also spend time exercising since their muscles and bones start to break down quickly in microgravity, and they also need to document everything they do in detail for future reference. But let's get back to that 80-hour workweek. Where does the other half of their time go? We know what you're thinking. Are astronauts really working 120 hours a week? Aren't they supposed to be having fun up there? Well, yes, they do try to balance their workload with some fun. After all, they are the lucky few who get to experience life beyond our planet. So while it might seem like a bit of a meme to say that astronauts work 120 hours a week, it's actually more of a reflection of how passionate they are about their jobs. They know that their work is helping to unlock the secrets of the universe, and they're excited to be a part of that. On an average day, an astronaut will do science experiments, monitor systems on board the station, make repairs, and even take time to socialize with their fellow crew members. It's hard work, but someone's got to do it, and these brave men and women are more than up to the task. While it may not always feel like it, even here on Earth, there's always something that needs to be fixed or improved. A leaky faucet, a pile of dirty laundry, a messy desk. Life is full of little and big annoyances. But instead of letting them pile up, why not deal with them right away? That way you can enjoy the rest of your day knowing that everything is taken care of. And the same is true of the ISS. By fixing things as they go along, the astronauts are able to keep the station running smoothly and ensure that everyone stays safe. It's not always easy, but they always manage to get the job done. While we're on the topic of dealing with problems as they come up, let's talk about space junk. As you probably know, the Earth is covered in a layer of space junk. Everything from old satellites to bits of debris from all the rockets that have ever been launched. And as the ISS flies through this junk field, it's constantly dodging objects that could damage the station or hurt the astronauts. To make matters worse, the amount of space junk is growing every year. As more and more satellites are launched into orbit, the chances of a collision increase. But the astronauts don't just sit around and worry about it. They take active steps to protect themselves. For example, they can move out of the way of known objects or turn on the station's thrusters to boost it out of harm's way. They even have emergency procedures in place in case a piece of debris gets too close for comfort. The bottom line is that the astronauts are always prepared. They know that space junk is a fact of life in orbit, and they're not going to let it ruin their mission. We've all had to deal with annoying co-workers at some point in our lives, but trust us when we say that it could be much worse. Imagine working in a high-stress environment where every decision you make could affect the safety of everyone on board. Now imagine having to do that with a bunch of people who are not only annoying, but also potentially dangerous. That's the reality for the astronauts on the ISS. They have to deal with toxic chemicals, malfunctioning equipment, and even the occasional meteor shower. But through it all, they maintain a positive attitude and get the job done. And it's not just the physical challenges that make being an astronaut difficult. There are also psychological challenges. After all, these guys are spending months at a time in a tiny space station with very little privacy. But they always seem to find a way to make it work. One of the best things about being an astronaut is getting to see the Earth from a whole new perspective. When you're up there in space, you realize just how small and fragile our planet is, and it makes you want to take care of it. One of the biggest benefits of being an astronaut is getting to see the Earth from a whole new perspective. When you're up there in space, you realize just how small and fragile our planet is, and it makes you want to take care of it. Unfortunately, not everyone gets the chance to see this amazing view. In fact, only a privileged few ever get to experience life beyond our planet. But that doesn't mean the rest of us can't appreciate the incredible photos and videos that astronauts have shared with us over the years. Thanks to their hard work and sacrifice, we've been able to learn more about the universe than ever before, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. So the next time you see an astronaut on TV or in person, be sure to thank them for their service. Being an astronaut is one of the most challenging and rewarding jobs in the world. Long hours, dangerous conditions, and a constant sense of isolation. But despite all the challenges, astronauts continue to put their lives on the line to explore the unknown. They are true pioneers, and we are lucky to have them. It's not just the physical challenges that make being an astronaut difficult. There are also psychological challenges. After all, these guys are spending months at a time in a tiny space station with very little privacy, but they always seem to find a way to make it work. The thing about astronauts is that they're not just highly skilled professionals, they're also incredibly resilient people. They're the type of people who can bounce back from any setback and keep moving forward. It's this resilience that allows them to survive and thrive in such a challenging environment. Being an astronaut is definitely not for everyone. It takes a special kind of person to be able to handle the pressure and isolation that comes with the job. But for those who are up to the challenge, there is no greater reward than exploring the unknown and pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. So the next time you see an astronaut, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey that they've been on and the challenges that they've overcome to get where they are today. They are truly some of the bravest and most resilient people on our planet. And now it's time to hear from you. What would you do if you were an astronaut for a day? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got lots of other videos coming up that you're not going to want to miss. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.